There are 10 churches that have been called out who were taking tithe money from their congregation, taking 3% of that money that came in and giving it to the Hillsong Church that Brian Houston was over in order to kind of pay to play and be a part of the Hillsong family, if you want to say. Yeah, so I know 3% may not seem like much, but when these 10 churches are bringing in millions and millions of dollars from people who are tithing and investing into this church, thinking their money is going somewhere that glorifies and honors the Lord and extends the kingdom, it's actually going to the pockets of Brian Houston to pay for luxury things. Now, this personally does not come at a surprise to me because in my early Christian walk, in my early 20s, I grew up in the health, wealth, prosperity church, and this type of thing was going on all the time. I came from a church that was really planted by Kenneth Hagin and then taken over by Mark Hankin. Kenneth Hagin was his mentor, and then Mark ended up having a son, and then his son kind of took over, and so it just trickled down from there. But really, guys, I mean, I've seen Jesse Duplantis preach. Believe Joyce Meyer at one point came and preached at this church that I used to go to. And so, anyways, this type of stuff, this type of pay to play, hey, listen, you give this much money and we'll come speak at your events and we'll invite you to come speak at events and all these things. It's what happens in these types of churches. And it's sad because a lot of people don't know that that's what's going on. A lot of people come and see this and are shocked. But we know that greed is an evil sin, and the desire for riches is dangerous. Now, being rich is not dangerous. Seeking to be wealthy is not necessarily dangerous, yet you have to check your heart and your motives behind those things because they can be dangerous. And so when we see something like this come out, we see a pastor like Judah Smith getting paid $19,000 to $30,000 to speak at a Hillsong event, and then paying Brian Houston $20,000 to $50,000 to speak at his church and his events. That's a lot of money that's going to waste because these pastors are then taking this money and using it for luxury items, luxury vacations. It's even in this whole document that's come out that if you paid to play, you were invited to Brian Houston and his wife's luxury vacations. And so it's just this big circle of money being thrown around, people becoming rich off of congregations' heart-filled donations, thinking it's going to the Lord and his kingdom and to expand it, yet it's going somewhere totally different. And I'm going to go to the scriptures real quick and just read a few verses. In Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 10 to really 13, we see it said this way: He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he who loves abundance with increase. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eat them. So what profit have the owners except to see them with their eyes? The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. There is a severe evil which I have seen under the sun, riches kept for their own to his hurt. Guys, this is coming from a man who had so much riches, he didn't even know what to do with it. And at the end of his life, at the end of it, he's telling you it's vanity. That should say something to us. When we read the book of Ecclesiastes, we should see this heavy warning from this man who had everything, riches, fame, females, everything. And he's saying it's all vanity under the sun. And then we see in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. The issue we see with a lot of these health, wealth, prosperity teaching churches is they just don't know contentment. And when the money comes in and the dollar signs grow, the greed of their inner man begins to come out. And we see that they abuse the money, they abuse the tither, and they encourage the tither to give even more and more and more because they twist the scriptures and they make it seem like if you give this much money, then God will bless you 10 times of that much. And it lays not only on the pastor telling that to the member of the church or the person listening, but it also weighs on the person listening and the member of the church to do their due diligence in seeking the word and seeking what the word has to say on this type of topic of money and giving and tithes and offerings. And so, does this come at a surprise to me? No, absolutely not. Sadly, this happens a lot in these types of churches. A lot of people are just unknown to it. And does something need to change? Yes. Do I hope and pray that this document that has come out opens people's eyes? Yes. Because we need to start understanding that the churches that are preaching this type of message are not out for good intentions. They're out for greed, they're out for money, and they're using the name of Jesus as a means to fill their pockets. They're spending it all on their clothes, their luxury vacations, their private jets, their luxury meals out. And while their congregation is suffering, and some and most of their congregation is giving their last dime away, thinking it's going somewhere, it's actually going into their bellies of their pastors,